Hey there. The outgoing government was a coalition with the Green Party, and obviously the new government is more or less the same, except it doesn't include the Greens. Now, the Greens had certain policies they wanted to push, like our energy supply and how it's sourced. They're wanting it to go more towards renewables, which all sounds well and good, but actually we've found with Storm Owen and all the damage it's done that certain policies about where trees are allowed to be next to power lines, it can cause long-term problems, and there's still people who don't have power even now. And an over-reliance on windmills, and of course some of them malfunction during the storm. These big windmills that we have up on hills, they broke and had to be repaired and still being repaired. So really you can't rely on renewable energy 100%. Solar panels can get broken in storms, in freezing weather as well. They can be damaged, so can windmills. So it just another example of how pie in the sky the Greens actually are, and unrealistic. This project to build a train line to the middle of nowhere for the Shannon, that's not actually used commercially. So why build like a commercial train line to an airport that no one really uses for commerce? Absolute insanity. And the hypocrisy of it all, like, oh yeah, we've got to try and be more green. But on the one hand, this country's got the lowest amount of native trees in Europe, and generally the lowest amount of trees anyway. So the government for decades and decades has been, through Quilcher, planting all these spruce trees in these plantations. Again, with Storm Owen, huge numbers of them just collapsed, fell over. Huge plantations destroyed, just knocked over by the wind because of the way that they had grown. Whereas with native planting, deciduous plants, which are trees which are maybe not grown in the same kind of grid because of the nature of how they are. They don't grow in this sort of like upright aspect in quite the same way as conifers. They're less vulnerable. But of course the government has just carried on the same policies. So you've seen all this devastation. At the same time, the Greens are hitting people with extra charges for coal and sort of firewood. Once you get to do away with people's fireplaces altogether, the idiocy of that. I mean, we've got through this winter, myself, with the help of a stove. Thank God we had that. We'd be bloody frozen otherwise. And there are countless households around this country that rely on fires and stoves that the Green Party wants to ban. Okay, I don't actually use coal anymore. When I used to use coal, I used to use this special eco coal, which is like 50% coal dust and 50% ground up olive pips. But then that became unavailable, so I just stopped using coal altogether. But there's no tax incentives to be green. There's no tax incentives on eco-friendly fuels or those eco logs, that kind of thing. The Green Party, if they really wanted to help people, they could have cancelled the tax on that instead of taxing the hell out of mostly old people and really poor people who have to rely on coal. So I'm really glad that Eamon Ryan left. I'm really glad that the current leader is the only person in his party who's got a seat, and I wish he'd just clear off too, because these people are sort of living in la-la land. I'm very much for green solutions and ecology and environmentalism, but not this sort of theocratic nonsense that these idiots come out with. They're about as practical as a chocolate fireguard, these people in the Greens. They really have no idea what real life is like, what ordinary people are like, and what their lives are like, and what their needs are. You know, some poncy git up in Dunleary who pays €8 for a sprig of organic broccoli has no idea what it's like to live in rural Ireland, or, you know, be some poor old lady on a pension who's barely afford a bag of coal to get through the winter months, you know. So I'm glad though those Greens are gone, and I wish that this new government, whoever they're partnered with, will revise their policy on forestry and revise their policy about firewood and open fires and such things as stoves, etc. I think a lot of new planning applications won't even allow you to have a chimney or fireplace anymore, which is utterly ridiculous, because in times when we have power cuts, people are literally going to freeze if there's power cuts in the middle of winter and you get, you know, -10 or whatever temperatures. People will possibly even die as a result of this idiocy. So yeah, I wish this Irish government would stop with the hypocrisy. They talk about green policies and trying to implement all this EU and WF agenda, but they're completely incompetent, and what they actually do isn't really very green or ecologically friendly at all. It's just a load of nonsense. So the sooner they cop themselves on, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So that was a bit of a rant, but I think it needed to be said. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. Give a thumbs up if you did. That's it for now. Thanks a million.